everybody, my name is Ranger Margot, coming to you from Yellowstone National Park. Now when you think of Yellowstone National Park, you may think of our hydrothermal features. That's what most people come here wanting to see. But the number 2 reason that people come to Yellowstone is hoping to see wildlife. And that could be because we have the largest concentration of land mammals in the lower 48. So there's a pretty good chance of you seeing some wildlife while you're here visiting. But I want to teach you a little bit more about this wildlife and what they might be doing when you come here, how they might be interacting and surviving by using their senses. Now here in Yellowstone, we have 67 different species of mammals. We have 13 different species of bats, 16 different species of fish, 5 different species of amphibians, and over 280 different species of birds, plus countless more. In Yellowstone, there's a lot to learn and a lot of animals that can show us how to use these different senses. I'm going to talk about all of our senses and just a few animals that have really perfected using these in order to survive. Now, I want you to think about the senses that you use every day as an animal in order to survive. Maybe some of the senses that you're using right now, learning with me. These animals use senses in the same ways, but perhaps do some different things. Surviving in this harsh landscape, in meadows, near thermal features, at high elevation. So let's first talk about our sense of taste. Now, some of you may have a favorite food. I want you to think about your favorite food. Do you think that the animals in Yellowstone would like your favorite food? Some of them may not. But do you think that your favorite food would be good for any of the animals here in Yellowstone? Probably not. Now, even if it's a fruit or a vegetable, if it's not found naturally here in Yellowstone, it may not be very good for our animals, and they may have a hard time digesting it. And even if it's a food like fish, it may be more processed, and we want to make sure that the animals here in Yellowstone stay safe and stay wild. So please remember, if you do come to visit our park, to keep that food locked away and keep our animals wild, because they don't have too hard of a time finding their own food if you look at what they are trying to eat. Now, if we look at an animal like our wolf here, you'll notice that it has all sharp, pointy teeth. Now, I'd like you to put your hands behind your backs. I don't want any hands in our mouths for this. So using only your tongue, feel your front teeth. Do they feel a little sharp? Maybe look kind of like these on our wolves. Now, wolves are predators, meaning that they are hunters. They have all sharp teeth because they're meat eaters or carnivores. Some of our animals, though, have flatter teeth, like our bison. Now, bison, they eat plants. They are omnivores, and since they don't hunt other animals, they're called prey. I'd like you to put your hands behind your back again, and using just your tongue, feel your back teeth. Mine feel flat and wide, kind of like this bison's. Yours probably feel very similar, even if they're still growing in. But you can tell that these bison use these teeth to grind things like plants. Now, some animals, like us, or like our bears, have both of these kinds of teeth. These sharp front teeth and these back teeth, because these bears are opportunistic, meaning they'll just eat about anything. That's also a name for an omnivore, which is us. Now, some people choose to be herbivores, meaning that they just eat plants, or vegetarians, but we're designed, based on our teeth, to be able to eat a lot of different types of foods. So we can use their teeth in order to understand a little bit more about where we might find them when we come to Yellowstone. If they're prey animals, they might be grazing in large fields. Or if they're opportunistic, like our bears, maybe they're trying to eat spawning fish if it's that time of year. Or if they're carnivores, like our wolves, they're probably hunting other prey. So if you think about what they're eating, you'll be able to understand them a little bit better, and maybe even be able to see them a little bit better when you come here. So we have our sense of taste, but we also have some other senses right near there on our faces, like our eyes. Now, our eyesight can be really important. If you're like me, you might enhance your eyesight using contacts or glasses. Now, some animals don't need contacts or glasses because they have really amazing eyesight. In fact, here in Yellowstone, we have the animal with the best eyesight known. What animal do you think has the best eyesight out of any? If you said an eagle, you are absolutely correct. Eagles can see 4 to 8 times better than human beings can. So imagine using some binoculars and turning them all the way up, and you may be able to see like an eagle does, which is what makes them such successful hunters. Now, if you look at the eyes of the eagle, they have round pupils, kind of like ours. Other animals don't have round pupils. Now, if you look left to right, you're using your peripheral vision. So you can tell what's around you. You might have to move your head a little to widen your view though. So if you were, say, a predator, you would want to be hunting with your eyes more in the front. But if you're a prey, you might have your head down all the time, meaning your eyes might be on the side. You're not going to want to have to turn your head all the time, which is why many of our prey species have these horizontal pupils, meaning that they don't have to turn their eyes back and forth quite as much as animals like us that have more round pupils. So I'd like you to think about the eyesight on a predator being more on the front of its head, and the eyesight on a prey being more on the side of its head. And repeat after me. Eyes on the side, I like to hide. Eyes in the front, I like to hunt. And you might be able to understand how this eyesight helps these animals in order to see what they need to in their surroundings. Even if they don't have the best eyesight, their eye placement or their pupil shape might be able to help them to improve those. Now, you might wonder what it's like to be an animal like a bison with its eyes on the side of its head. Now, we have binocular vision. If you have binoculars, you can always try looking through them, looking far off in the distance, and imagine what it might be like to be an eagle. But if you don't, you might be able to focus your vision by making your own binoculars with your hands. Now, this focuses our vision a bit, but we're still looking the way that we normally would. However, if you turn your hands inward, suddenly you have monocular vision, like that of a bison or any other species with its eyes on the side of its head. And you might imagine what it would be like to be looking down all the time and why you wouldn't want to just stare at the ground. So these are things that you can kind of think about a little bit as you're imagining trying to survive as one of these animals. So we have our sense of taste and we have our sense of sight. Another sense we can use is our sense of smell. We also have the animal here that has the best sense of smell. So what animal do you think has the best sense of smell? If you guessed a bear, you are absolutely correct. Now, if you look at the nasal cavity of a bear, you can see that it is quite large and complicated. So a larger nose can help this bear in order to survive. In fact, bears can smell 20 miles away if the wind is blowing in the right direction, which, considering the fact that we have both black bears and grizzly bears, is another reminder of why you should always keep your food locked up in a safe space when you come to visit natural places. So these bears can use their sense of smell even when they're competing to smell their food from other things. Now, in the wintertime, a lot of animals, like our bison or elk, may pass away. And so they can be buried under lots of snow, buried in water, in rivers, or in pieces of lakes that have melted out. And those bears still might be able to smell them through that. In fact, I have a friend who has seen a grizzly bear come down the side of a hill, use its big nose to smell a mud pot, which, if you've never smelled a mud pot, smells a lot like rotten eggs. And then pull out a bison that had partially fallen into it. So not only could it smell that bison from far away, but it could smell it even through competing smells like those of bubbling mud pots. So they have these senses that really help them survive in a harsh and strange environment like Yellowstone. So we have our sense of eyesight, our sense of taste, our sense of smell. How about our sense of hearing? Now, we do have a lot of animals that have great sense of hearing here in Yellowstone, including one that has the best sense of hearing. So if you had to guess what animal has the best sense of hearing, what might you pick? Many people think of animals with large ears because, like a nose, larger ears may help to capture some of that sound. In fact, you can use this technique in order to improve your own hearing. If you cup your hands like C's and stick them behind your ears so they're sticking out towards me, I want you to see if it sounds like I'm talking any louder. Try and hear some other things around you in your home, classroom, or wherever you are, and see if they feel like they're a little bit louder. Now lower your hands. Does it sound like I'm talking a little bit quieter, or like things have gotten quieter around you? You can use the same technique to capture some of that sound and pull it into your own ears. But looks can be deceiving sometimes because while larger ears may help animals in order to hear better, it's not necessarily a trait of the animal that has the best sense of hearing. Now, if you guessed an owl as the animal that has the best sense of hearing, that is the number 3 animal of all animals that have the best sense of hearing. If you guessed a bat, you're getting closer. That's the animal with the second best sense of hearing. But the animal with the first best sense of hearing is actually a moth. Now that may be surprising to some people, but this is fairly new research. But just remember that even smaller animals, they can have these sort of superpowers that help them to survive. So don't judge an animal just based on its looks and try and see how it's interacting with its environment in order to survive. So we have our sense of taste, our sense of sight, our sense of smell, our sense of hearing, and there's just one more that we need to talk about, our sense of touch. Now, animals may not use their sense of touch in the same way that we do, but most animals, and the ones that we're talking about, can be categorized into 2 types. Animals with paws and animals with hooves. You can see that they leave different types of prints based on the foot that they have. Now, we can talk a little bit about animals with paws and how that may help them in order to survive. If you look at this paw of a black bear here, you may notice some things about it. You may notice that the paw is a little crunchy right now because it's dried out, but oftentimes these are going to be squishy. In fact, if you feel your own hand, you may feel a little bit of that squishy sole there. Now, how is that going to help one of these animals? Well, it may help protect them when, say, they're climbing trees or running quickly, running on different types of materials like the roads that we have, or grasses and rocks, or even across snow. But it also may help them because oftentimes animals with paws are going to be more likely to be hunters. Now, these animals, they're going to want to sneak up on their prey. So if you can, I want you to try this exercise, either using your hands or your feet. Just either walk around or make some noise on your table. Just tap. You can hear me doing that, right? But if I were to be nice and quiet and do a sort of wolf walk and crouch a bit and use the pads on my hand to be nice and quiet, you may not be able to hear me tapping on this table. So we have that same kind of adaptation with our pads of sorts. Now, some animals may have things like claws, either to help them dig, like grizzly bears that have really long claws, or shorter claws like black bears that can help them climb trees. So paws and pads and claws can be extremely helpful for these animals. But other animals have different types of feet, like our ungulates. Now, ungulates have these hooved feet that have the 2 parts to the hoof. And those hooves can help them in a number of ways as well. Like we see with our mountain goat here, it can help them to climb rocky surfaces. It can help them to run across multiple surfaces. In fact, most hooves don't have nerve endings in them. So you may even see some animals walking in thermal areas that may not even hurt their feet, even though it looks like it could be hot. So these hooves can have a number of different advantages. But we've seen that both hooves and paws can help animals to run quickly. But which do you think is the faster of the 2? How many of you think that it's an animal with paws? How many of you think that it's an animal with hooves? All right, now I want you to think of the specific animal that you think might be the fastest land mammal in North America. We have that here in Yellowstone because that is the pronghorn. that can run up to 60 miles an hour. So we do have a lot of different animals here in Yellowstone. And while they may not run faster than a pronghorn, they may be able to use their sense of touch to help them in other ways. In fact, we can even feel some of these things. If you ever come to the park, feel free to stop by a visitor center or junior ranger tent and see if they have any pelts that you could feel. They may have otters that you can see and feel how their skin is a little bit more oily, that sense of touch wicking away some of that water, versus other animals that might build up a lot more fur in the wintertime, like say a bison that can have over an inch of ice on its fur and still not feel it against its skin because it gets so thick. So these different senses of touch, we can use ours to help understand them, and we can think about the animal sense of touch and how it helps them to survive. Now, we've talked about 5 different senses here. Our sense of sight, smell, taste, hearing, and touch. All of these senses our animals here in Yellowstone use, but you also use them every day. Think about how you use these different senses, maybe how you better these senses for yourself. And when you come to Yellowstone or any other natural space, I want you to think about the fact that you're using these same senses in order to survive, in order to understand this ecosystem, which means that when you come here, you're not just a visitor, but you are in fact the 68th species of mammal here in Yellowstone National Park, using those same senses and enjoying this same natural space. So I hope that you've learned a little bit about the animals here in Yellowstone, how they survive using these senses, and about how you may not be so different from them after all. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask a ranger when you're here or by emailing us, and we'd be happy to answer them. But we look forward to seeing you and how you use your senses to enjoy and participate and protect this national park for generations to come.